Okay, guys, so we have the following problem. A recipe requires 2/5 of a cup of milk for each 1/3 cup of water. How many cups of water are needed for each cup of milk? Okay, and here's the calculator link that you need to use for your reference. So the question is telling us to figure out how many cups of water are needed for each cup of milk. Remember, guys, anytime we see the word each or pure or average, we're talking about unit rate. Okay, so when we're speaking of unit rate, we're finding the constant of proportionality, or we're trying to figure out when something is one. In this case, we need to figure out how many cups of water are needed for each or 1 cup of milk. Okay, so notice even though 2/5 cup of milk is mentioned first in the problem, remember when we're doing the unit rate, it's always the y value divided by the x value, right? So it's always going to be the y over the x. And remember your x for unit rate, x is always 1. Remember, whether we're dealing with a graph, whether we're dealing with a table, our x is always equal to 1. In this case, we need to figure out for each cup of milk. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the information that's given, and I'm going to put the cup of milk, the information that I have on the cup of milk, in my denominator because the denominator represents x. So this 2/5 is my cup of milk. Okay, so this is referring to milk. And my numerator is going to be 1/3 cup of water. All right. So, like the question says, we need to figure out how many cups of water is needed for 1 cup of milk. In order to do that, the video that you guys had to watch on this topic tells you to get from 2/5 to 1, I would have to divide 2/5 by 2/5. So I would divide by 2/5, right? So in this case, my new denominator would be 1. But whatever I do to the denominator, I also have to do to the numerator. So I will also have to do 1/3 divided by 2/5, right? So to figure out how many cups of water I need for 1 cup of milk, I have to do 1/3 divided by 2/5. Okay, so I'm going to have to divide these two. So I'm going to do the work right here. 1/3 divided by 2/5. Anytime you're dividing fractions, you always keep the first fraction. So in this case, I'm keeping 1/3. You change the division to multiplication and you take the reciprocal. So you flip the numerator and denominator. So this 5 becomes my new numerator and the 2 becomes my new denominator. And then here you would just multiply the numerators, 1 times 5, which gives you 5, and then 3 times 2, the denominators, which will give you 6. So in this case, my answer will be 5/6. So this 5/6 means that for each cup of milk, I would need 5/6 of a cup of water. Okay, for each cup of milk.